Alright guys, so we chose to work on this one in class. If you're watching this at home, then disregard some of these in-class statements and just go through it as you would. So we're working on it in our groups. Okay, so I expect you guys to be working together, helping each other out, just not one person doing all the work. You all should have a copy of it, just so you can look at it and look at the problems. But pick one of them and write everybody's name on there, and that'll be the one that you hand in. We'll try to get this finished in class today. If we don't, we'll finish it next time. So, you are checking the worksheet of your friend Horatio. Unfortunately, he did not have an awesome teacher like myself, and made some mistakes as he solved the equations. So, he wants you to examine his worked out solutions and circle any mistakes made. Then explain why these are mistakes and what Horatio should have done. Okay? Then provide the correct solution. So, we're going to follow our normal format. Let's give ourselves time to do, let's say, 3 at a time. No, let's do 4 at a time, because I think there are 16 total, right? Yeah, and then a few extra questions, which you'll do at the end. Okay, so you're going to do 4 at a time, so the first page. Let's give ourselves about, try 10 minutes to work through these. So you need to all be working within that 10 minutes. Don't just wait for the answers. Okay, you want to be able to see what you did when you watch the correct answers. So let's have the guest teacher pause for about 10 minutes. Let you guys work on 1 through 4, and then we'll come back and take a look at them. Alright, so I'm assuming you guys had the chance to work on this, and it's 10 minutes later. So, if we look at this first one, we had negative 6t equals 30. So, it's negative 6 times t, so they started correctly, right, by dividing by 6, but what did they forget? Well, they forgot the negative, right? So, we should put a negative there, so I guess that's what we'd circle that they did wrong, right, is that they forgot to put a negative there, which would change their answer to a negative 5. So we should have done it like this. And apparently I don't know which one I was wanting to write. Negative 6t equals 30. Divide by negative 6. And we get t equals negative 5. Okay, so the explanation would be something along the lines of forgot to divide by negative. Okay, or negative. Alright? Okay. Now, we look at question 2. We have 3/4 x equals 12. Okay? So, this one was probably tough to think through. The way to think about this one is that we've got 3 times x, then divided by 4. Okay? So, thinking about the inverse operation, we'd need to times by 4 and divide by 3. Okay? So, there's 2 ways you guys can do this one. But the mistake here is that he just multiplied by the same thing, which if we multiplied 3 by 3, that's 9, 4 by 4, that's 16. That doesn't get our x down to 0. Okay, so our error would be by what he multiplied, the 3/4. So he just multiplied by the coefficient. Okay, if we multiply by the same thing, we're not going to get rid of it. Okay, that's how I'd phrase that. You may have struggled with this one, and that's all right. Now you'll know. So, 2 ways we can do this. You can do it one piece at a time or all in one go. So if we did it one piece at a time, I would times both sides by 4. That would give me 3 times x equals 48. Then we divide both sides by 3. And we end up with x equals 16. The other way to do it, kind of what they wanted you to think through, was like this, to instead times by the reciprocal. Okay, so you times by 4 over 3, and you'd end up, those would all cancel, and you'd end up with x equals 16 again. You could either type that in a calculator or go 12 times 4 divided by 3. I kind of like doing it more this way though. That makes a little more sense, splitting it up for me. So hopefully we struggled through that one, because that's always good to struggle. Okay, to make you guys think. Alright, let's jump now to number 3. So number 3, we've got 2x minus 2 equals 14. and they subtract 2 from both sides, giving them 2x equals 12. Then they divide by 2 and get x equals 6. Okay, hopefully you noticed right here that it's already a minus 2, so I need to do the opposite. So here's their mistake. Okay, so they subtracted 2 from a negative. We need to do opposite. The inverse operation, right? Inverse operation. So it should have went like this. So we should add 2 to both sides. That would get that to be 0. So we're left with 2x equals 16. Then divide by 2 and we get x equals 8. Okay? That's what it should have looked like. Alright. Now number 4. We've got 5y plus a negative 5, which is the same as minus 5. Okay, and a minus 5 to both sides. So once again, basically the same mistake, right? Except 5 instead of 2. They needed to do the inverse operation instead. That plus probably threw them off. Okay, remember plus and negative is the same as minus. We want to get rid of that negative 5, so we add 5 to both sides, giving us 5y equals, that becomes 0, 15, divide by 5, and we get y equals 3. Hopefully you've noticed that simple mistakes like this really change what our answer is going to be, right? Those simple mistakes really mess up our answers. Alright, so there's the first set. So now do 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, the next 4. Once again, we'll give ourselves 10 minutes to do this. So let's have the guest teacher pause that right now. Okay, so coming back, hopefully we were able to do a little bit better on this one. Okay, so let's take a look at number 5 now. So we've got a positive 8 and they subtracted 8. That was a good first step. Okay, negative 37 minus 8 is negative 45. And then they ended up with a 5c. Hopefully you noticed. The subtraction belongs with the 5, not with the 8. Therefore, that's where we made our mistake. They forgot that negative, which would have then changed how they did everything. So, what did they do? They forgot to keep the minus with 5c. Okay? So, our answer would look like this. Started out the same way. Then we keep that negative 5c, right there. And then we can divide by negative 5 on both sides, giving us c equals a positive 9. Alright, so that was number 5. Number 6 here. So we've got 4 minus 2x equals negative 2. So we have the plus 4 on both sides. Once again, we should have noticed it's the same way, right? Okay, except with the 2x. Okay, so trying to drill some of these, I see these mistakes a lot, so I'm trying to drill them in your head, guys. So we get 4 minus 2x equals negative 2. Okay, now what else did they do? Because I just spotted the second mistake. I got so wrapped up in the first mistake I forgot the second. That 4 is a positive 4, so here's where we made our other mistake. Okay, we need to do the inverse operation. So instead of adding 4, subtract 4 from both sides, because they didn't do that. So I subtract 4 from both sides, keeping the negative with the 2x. So negative 2x equals negative 6, divide by negative 2, and we get x equals positive 3. Alright, once again, those mistakes really throw us off. That's the difficult part about solving equations, is that, yeah, one little teeny mistake can make such a big difference. Alright, let's look now at number 7. So I've got x plus 1 divided by 3 equals 2. They subtracted 1, giving them x divided by 3, then times by 3 to get x equals 3. Okay, now if you weren't sure if they made a mistake, you can always double check, take that 3 and go 3 plus 1 divided by 3. will that give me 2? 3 plus 1 is 4. 4 divided by 3 is not 2. So we know there was a mistake made somewhere. Okay? So with this one, it can be a little trickier. Think about order of operations though. If I knew what x was, okay, let's say x was a number here. First we would add 1, then we would divide by 3, right? So to x, what's happening is we would add 1, then divide by 3. Okay, now when we're solving this, we do the inverse operation in reverse order. So the first thing we need to do is actually times by 3. So where did they make their mistake? They tried to subtract the 1 first, and that's where they made their mistake. Okay, and then they multiplied by 3. Technically you could call that 2 if you wanted to. What we need to think through here is that really what they did was they didn't reverse the order of operations. Okay, so that's what we need to do. So we get x plus 1 divided by 3 equals 2. So we start out by timesing both sides by 3. That would eliminate that, so we're left with x plus 1 equals 6. Subtract 1, and we get x equals 5. Okay, and that's the correct way to do that one. Alright, now the last one in this set, we've got 4x minus 3 equals 17. They add 3 to both sides, that's the inverse operation. That becomes 0, they're left with 4x equals 20. Then they subtract 4 from both sides, giving them x equals 16. Boom, hopefully you saw that. It's 4 times x. We need to do the inverse operation, right? So they started it out correct. And I've seen this mistake a lot of times. So this is a critical one that you guys understand how to do, okay? So that's 4 times x. The inverse operation is division, and that gives us our answer. So what did they do wrong? They did the wrong operation. 4 times x means we divide by 4, not subtract. Okay, that's where they made their mistake. Alright, good enough, right? Okay, so now we've got 9, 10, 11, and 12. So we've got 4 more here. Okay, let's give ourselves 10 minutes here. If we need a few more minutes, that's fine too. Just let the guest teacher know you need a couple more minutes to work on this. But we're probably, getting pretty close to running out of time. So let's see if we can get these ones done and get the rest of this all done. Okay. So take 10 minutes. Have the guest teacher pause it now. All right. So coming back to this one. Now this is some stuff we talked about last class period. So what do we do with this parentheses here? Well, we take that 3 and we need to multiply it by both sides. Okay. So let me show you over here. So hopefully what you realized is we go 3 times 2x to give us 6x. So that was correct. But then we go 3 times negative 4 to give us a negative 12, which that's where they made their mistake. So they didn't distribute 3 to the minus 4. Okay? And that's the only mistake they made. Everything else looks pretty good. Okay, so that would equal 8. So we'd add 12 to both sides, giving us 6x equals 20, which makes our problem a little more difficult. So 20 divided by 6 would be, we could write 20 over 6. If we reduced that by 2, it would be 10/3, or 3 1/3, or 3.333 repeated. Any one of those answers I accept. Okay? All right, let's take a look at number 10 now. So number 10, we've got negative 2 times 8m, another distribution problem. So negative 2 times 8, that is 16, right? Negative 2 times 8 is negative 16m. Negative 2 times positive 8 again would give us a negative 16. And that's where they made their mistake. Right there, right? is that they forgot to change that. So they forgot negative 2 times 8 is negative 16, not positive 16. So then we add 16 to both sides, giving us negative 16m equals, that becomes 0. That also becomes 0. Sometimes that happens. Divide by negative 16, 0 divided by negative 16 is 0. And there's our correct answer. Okay. You may have also spotted that when they divided, they didn't use the negative. Okay, so there were multiple mistakes there. But once we got the other one, we kind of didn't really need to worry about that. Okay, let's take a look at number 12, or 11, sorry. Getting ahead of myself. So we've got 3x plus 2x minus 6 equals 24. They subtract 2x from both sides. Okay, here's the problem. The equal sign is right here. They actually didn't subtract it from both sides. Now, something we haven't really talked about, so you may have struggled with this one, but hopefully you remember us talking about combining like terms. If they're on the same side, all we have to do is combine them. Okay, we simplify them. So 3x plus 2x would give me 5x minus 6 equals 24. So they made their mistake right here. Okay, so just needed to combine like terms, the x's, 3x plus 2x, not use the subtraction property of equality, because I actually didn't use it. But I've seen this mistake a lot too. So then we add 6 to both sides, giving us 5x equals 30, which divide by 5, and we get x equals 6. Okay? So, hopefully these ones are challenging you guys, because that's a good thing to be challenged. So, looking at number 12, we've got 5x and negative 2x. They combine them to get 3x. Okay, we just talked up here about not doing that if they're on the same side. Now they tried to combine like terms when they were on opposite sides. So our mistake was right there. So if they're on opposite sides, we still can use the addition subtraction property of equality, and I can take 2x and I can add it to both sides, giving us 7x plus 1 equals negative 8, because negative stays with the 8. Then they did the right step along the rest of it. So we subtract 1, giving us 7x equals negative 9, divide by 7, and we get x equals negative 9/7, which could be a decimal, but I don't know that one off the top of my head, so I would just leave it like that. So what didn't they do? So here they did kind of the opposite. Combined like terms when they should have used either the addition or subtraction property of equality. Okay? Alright, so hopefully you guys have enough time for these last 4 problems. So take another 10 minutes here. Okay? Pause the video right now, please, guest teacher. Alright, so let's get through these last 4. Hopefully you still have time. If not, we'll talk about them on the next class day. So, distributive property, negative 2 times x, negative 2x. Negative 2 times negative 2, oh, here's our problem. Negative times negative should be a positive. Okay, we've seen this mistake before, haven't we? Hopefully you were able to catch that one. So negative 2x plus 4 is what we should have ended up with, which would then cause us to subtract 4 from both sides, giving us negative 2x equals 10, divide by negative 2, and we get x equals negative 5. So what did they do? Didn't distribute properly. Negative times negative equals positive. Okay? Alright, 14. So we go 5 times 1, which is 5. 5 times 4h, which is 20h, plus 2h equals 27. then they ended up with 27h equals 27, divide by 27 and get 1. This one may have looked a little tricky as to what was going on here, but hopefully you noticed, okay, they went 5 plus 20 plus 2. 5 is not an h, okay, so they can't combine them. So it would look something like this. Distribute 5 plus 20h plus 2h equals 27. These two we can combine and get 5 plus 22h equals 27. Subtract 5, we get 22h equals 22. And in this case, we actually luck out, and they still would have got the same answer. But that's only because of the way the numbers were. So where did they make a mistake? Combined non-like terms. Right? Like terms have the same variable raised to the same power. No variable, can't combine it with something with a variable. Okay? Alright, 15. So we distribute to get 6x plus 3 plus 4. Okay, once again, they combined the wrong ones, didn't they? So, combined non-like terms. So they combined those two to make 9x when they should have combined the 3 and the 4, right? Kind of a similar situation. We have 6x plus 3 plus 4 equals 10. Combine these two to get 7. So 6x plus 7 would equal 10. Subtract 7, we get 6x equals 3, divide by 6, we get x equals 3/6, which is 1/2 or 0.5. Okay, so once again, combined non-like terms. Alright, the last one on this. Okay, so we've got negative 2 times x minus 8 plus 4x equals negative 12. So hopefully you noticed right off the bat, negative times negative would give us a positive. So we should have ended up negative 2x plus 16 plus 4x equals negative 12. Okay, then they made another mistake, right? Negative 2x, positive 4x, when you combine those, should be a positive 2x. So they didn't multiply negatives when distributing, and didn't combine like terms properly. And then I guess if you're looking at theirs, they also didn't divide by negative. So this is all full of problems. Okay, so then this negative 2x, positive 4x would be a positive 2x plus 16 equals negative 12. So we'd subtract 16 to get 2x equals negative 28. Divide by 2, get x equals negative 14. Alright, so there we go with those ones, guys. Now, take the remaining time in class and answer these 4 questions. Kind of talk about your answers together in your group and put all your answers down there. If you've got time to finish that and hand it in, hand it in. If you don't have time to finish it, still hand it in, and we'll answer these questions tomorrow in class. And there we go, guys.